Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. When someone lectures you on, morals or, ethics, you first look at that person and say, okay, maybe what you say is true. Maybe, the ethics, the morality you mention here, you lecture me about, is true. But then immediately you should ask, but who are you? Remember, the Bible teaches you about the big beam in your eye versus the little straw in someone else's eye. Well, the Americans don't really do that. They blame everybody, they lecture everybody, but they don't look at their little beam stuck in their eye. So what am I talking about here? Russia obviously has a little scuffle with Ukraine, and it's a tragedy, let's put it mildly. And the United States of America, in this case, comments about the Russians' attack on Ukraine. Remember, the Ukrainians also defend themselves against the Russian attacks. Now, it doesn't mean that in self-defense you cannot commit war crimes. My personal experience, my personal experience with life in general is that every army commits war crimes. Except the Israel Defense Army, okay? Because they're in self-defense, remember the Holocaust? Okay. So they never, they just, if some accidents happen, but no. Anyway, so let's go back to our little ship here. So after a record drone and missile attack conducted by Russians yesterday, Donald Trump comes out and says that Putin went crazy and Putin wants the entire Ukraine. Well, that's the first comment that Trump makes because, we didn't want the whole world. They want Ukraine, but the United States of America doesn't want the entire world. And then we have an article coming again from Ukrainska Pravda where reportedly, the Trump crashes the Russian stock market. Well, nothing new. He crashed ours as well. And my point is, if you have prior knowledge of Trump's actions or the Trump administration's policies in the future in the international sphere, then you might get a billionaire overnight, which nobody has prior knowledge. Nothing leaks out of the White House. Everything else leaks, but this kind of information, we're going to attack those guys. We're going to impose those things. Sell, buy. No. It doesn't happen. No. So that's the second topic. The third one, we have this lecturing session from the Americans who are even mentioning the Geneva Peace Protocol from 1977 that the Russians are violating. Now, again, if that would come for someone who didn't do it, I will say, thank you very much, preach more. The problem is, while the Americans are shaming the Russians because they violate the 1977 Geneva Peace Protocols, they don't shame anybody else in the Middle East for nothing. So when the United States of America will have the balls, the minimum, quality to call it as it is on both sides, then I would listen. Then I will give them some credibility. Until then, you're fuck-ups. So in the Middle East is all good, perfect, we don't want to hear anything over there. On the contrary, we arm them. And in Russia, these guys violated the 1997 Geneva Peace Protocols, okay? Kellogg said. I want to hear Kellogg saying the same thing he wouldn't dare. So these guys are not working for us. Russia has 145 million people, has about 7,400 nuclear warheads, the biggest country in the world, with resources, with manpower, with everything you want over there. The other one has about 10 million people in a freaking desert-like land, small little shit, okay, with apparently no power, and they are always the victims having no money and no influence, but we don't dare to say anything to the 10 million, and they don't have nuclear weapons, officially. And all of a sudden we go and tell the Russians, but we don't tell that little baboon over there. Why do you think is that? Don't connect any dots. Any. So isn't that irritating? And then they expect me to say, yes, America, yeah, these guys are bad. Yeah, I'm going to hate them because you say so. When you're going to call the other guys out, then we're talking. And when you're going to call yourself out, then we're talking even more. Now, I like this kind of display of perfection and unicorn like fata, whatever it's called. Anyway, and then we have the Russians' answers to these accusations, and not only the accusations, but they will say, oh, this is what's going on. Well, they do the same thing to us, call them out as well. And the Americans are going to say, yeah, but we are the other side, so we're not going to call ourselves out. So let's start with the first freaking article. This starts from Ukrainska Pravda. Trump. Putin wants all of Ukraine. He has gone absolutely crazy. Now, Putin wants all Ukraine. Okay, who wants to clear the Middle East? Who wants to take care of Russia? Who wants to take care of China? All these things with Taiwan, with South Korea, with Ukraine, with Iran, these are just a reason a bully finds to beat you up. That's all. That's all. We have a joke in Romania. It was going like this. It was the bear, and the bear wanted to beat the rabbit. And he couldn't find a reason, how to beat the rabbit. And he says, hey, the bear thinks, I'm going to ask the rabbit for a cigarette. And if the rabbit is going to give me a cigarette with filter, I will beat him up because I want a cigarette with no filter. So either way, I'm going to beat him up. If you give me one with no filter, I will beat him up because he didn't offer me one with filter. So he said, hey, rabbit, what's going on? And the rabbit, hey, good, how are you? And then the bear asks the rabbit, hey, can I have a cigarette? Can you spare a cigarette? And then the rabbit answers, with filter or without filter? And then the bear says, God damn it, you're sneaky again, and he beats him up. So he found the reason anyway. He's sneaky. All right, that's how it is. You're a smart ass again. So the rabbit avoided it, and this guy beat him up nevertheless. So the same thing with Ukraine, America, everywhere you find the common denominator. The Houthis now, the Americans, the good people, helping everybody else where problems are created by not the Pentagon, the banking system, and other interests. No. The evil people all around, we're going to take care of them. We are the new sheriff in town because we're good, man. We're good. Can you see here? I identify as good right here. Okay? Motherfuckers. All right, let's move on. So all of a sudden, Putin wants Ukraine. Just entered Ukraine because he wants it? That's it? It was nothing about NATO coming over? No. It was nothing about breaking Ukraine's neutrality. It was nothing about overthrowing a government, legitimate, democratically elected government in Ukraine in 2014. Is arming Ukraine? Is these guys bringing infrastructure, missiles in Poland, Romania, and Ukraine, training the Ukrainians, bringing CIA bases over there in Ukraine next to Russia? What if the Russians do the same thing to you? That would be the definition of justice. All right, let's move to the next one. I'm so fucking angry with these imbeciles. Trump crashes Russian stock market minus $1 billion in a few hours. No problem. And this is why the Moscow stock market took a sharp dive following Donald Trump's statements about possible tougher sanctions against Russia. Got it? So if Trump and his people around say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do with Russia. We're going to impose sanctions on them, okay? All right. Do what's necessary to do in the stock market because, this will happen. And then you come out after about 3 days after they were able to sell and buy. I might impose sanctions on Russia because the rabbit is sneaky, is a smart ass. You know what I mean? The reason. They can find whatever reason they want. Tomorrow is Tuesday, so that's a good reason. Oh my God, look at the planets are aligned. There must be, let's impose sanctions. That's how these guys function. And then those guys started a transaction, takes a dump over there, and some people get millionaires, another gets broke, I'm sorry. And then what happened? I don't impose anything. And then I come again, and so on. So if I tell people ahead of time what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do it or just make a statement, Trump crashed the US stock market as well. So I'm not worried about it. And remember, you get stronger if you're a strong organism. You get stronger if you are attacked. If you have to fight adversity. That's why stronger organisms, they become stronger in a hostile environment. People like fat, insulated guys, they become soft and weak. That's why these guys are not going to start a war with the Russians. For instance, they're going to use others, like the Ukrainians with big balls, to fight the Russians with the big balls. These guys snip their balls because they identify. All right? Now you know that reason why. And let's see how this guy is telling, here it is, my friends. Trump administration finally responds to large-scale Russian attacks on Ukraine. Kellogg was not agreed or accepted as a envoy by the Russians. They said, no, you don't come to Moscow and talk to us. I wonder why. All right, because he's a sold out probably. Now, Keith Kellogg, President Donald Trump's special envoy for Ukraine, but he's not coming to Moscow. Mr. Vitkov, the Jewish guy, is coming to Moscow. I wonder why. Hey, it's just a coincidence that the other guy is a Middle East envoy, just so you know, dealing with the Iranians in the name of America, and he's Jewish, and he comes and deals with Putin, the Russian, because the president of Ukraine is Jewish. No, don't connect fucking dots. Is the first official in the current administration to condemn on Russia's largest scale strikes on Ukrainian cities and villages. Remember, this is what he says. He condemns, all right, your comment, Russian recent large-scale airstrike on Ukrainian cities and villages. And this is what he said. Kellogg on X. Kellogg posted a photo of Kiev in flames and stated that such attacks constitute a clear violation of the 1977 Geneva Peace Protocols. This is Kiev. The indiscriminate killing of women and children at night in their homes is a clear violation of 1977 Geneva Peace Protocols designed to protect innocents. Correct, Kellogg. Do you remember when the Americans bombed Yugoslavia? Do you fucking remember that? I do. I know. You can click away. Did they destroy any civilians? They did. Did they give you even a reason why? They said, well, I'm not kidding. You can find the statements online. You are still there. They didn't get to that point of George Orwell, they burn the present so you control that and then you control that. No. They're not yet there yet. They're working on it with their algorithms. You know how that is? I make a video today and tomorrow is down there a million because they put other people in front that tell the narrative. Parrot the narrative. So remember, the general said, yeah, but the civilians are helping the military by working and they are providing the military. That means civilians are what? Okay? Because the civilians are building weapons. The civilians are bottling water for the soldiers. The civilians are making clothes for the military. So is that a reason to bomb them? According to the U.S. general, go and check his fucking statements. He said, yeah. All right, so Kellogg, hello. I'm listening. Okay, that's one. And then the other one. If right now, on this screen, right there, on this screen, touch the screen. You remember Phil Collins' song? If I place right now one picture from Gaza, one, flattened, not like Kiev, burning here, burning that, no, flattened, this video will not go, my friends. It's going to have problems with YouTube. So why don't you send Mr. what's his name some pictures from Gaza? Will he say anything about that? And if not, why not? I tell you why. Self-defense, Holocaust, and they are protected and they are chosen. Fuck off everybody else. Got it? So when I hear the US government or the officials condemning that big day in what? In 1 year, 2 years? What those guys did over there compared with these guys here? How many children are there versus with here? Spare fucking me. Excuse me. Anyway, let's move on. And this is the Russians' response. And the Russians respond in the same way as someone who did something responds. Well, we don't do it, but they do it. I think they both do it, clearly. Kremlin responds to Trump's harsh criticism of Putin. Okay. Dmitry Peskov, press secretary for the Russian leader, has commented, oh, now he's a leader, he's not a dictator. Jesus Christ, these guys have to be consistent. Has commented on US President Donald Trump's recent remark in which he said that Vladimir Putin was absolutely crazy following the latest air attacks on Ukraine. Of course, this is the quote. Of course, this is a very sensitive moment, which naturally carries emotional weight for absolutely everyone and provokes emotional reactions. We are closely monitoring all the reactions. At the same time, President Putin makes the decisions necessary to, and this is a justification, and go home. Ensure the security of the state, of our state. Got it? Ukrainska Pravda does not recognize Putin as president, but they recognize Zelensky unelected as president. You tell me, my friends. So, Peskov went on to complain that Ukraine had allegedly threatened foreign leaders invited to Moscow for Victory Day celebrations. Therefore, he claimed Russia was, quote-unquote, forced to take measures, and President Putin is doing what is needed to ensure Russia's security. Well, let me tell you this. Let's say you're a family, and you have your father, which is the stronger. I'm your father. Okay, the strongest in a family, and he protects you, the child, you're like a baboon. And let's say you went to the neighbor's house, and I don't know, you did something over there, you peed on his lawn, and the neighbor comes over, let's say comes over, and he wants to beat you up, the neighbor wants to beat you up. What should your father do? I mean, yes, you peed on his lawn, let's say we give the Ukrainians that, which could be reversed as well. And the neighbor comes to you and says, no, I'm gonna beat your child right now because he peed. Should your father allow the neighbor of a stranger to beat your child, your family, or not? Well, I guarantee you, I would fuck him up if he touches my child. There you go. You can't touch my child. All right? If I implement something, I implement the way I think fit. That guy, I could, ground him for a few days. Maybe I don't give him ice cream. Maybe I don't. That's how I do it. I'm not going to let you punish my child, as I would not punish your child. So this is what this guy says. Well, in good or in evil, this is the guy who protects us. And the guys are shooting at us. We shoot at them. Do I think that's right? Well, you have to, at one point, agree with with objectivity and subjectivity. The neighbor was right to say, I demand this guy to be punished, but I don't think he should be the one who says how. On the other hand, leaving that example to the side, in Ukraine is not like the Russians, as this guy, he wants all Ukraine. The question is, why? Remember that guy who I used to like for a short little while, what's his name, man? Douglas Murray. You remember Douglas Murray? Yeah. Can't just ask questions. You fucking imbecile. The Socratic method is asking questions, you piece of shit. Anyway, no, you can't just ask questions. But who? Only the people, the smart people should ask questions. Really? I mean, I watched this guy after the thing happened in Israel in October 7 or whenever that happened. I watched him and he's just, I couldn't believe, like Piers Morgan, and they just show themselves as being, oh my God, these guys are not of our stripe. So this is the answer, the first answer. Let's go to the other one, coming from the Russians themselves. Russia Today, May 26, Russian strikes on Ukraine are retaliatory, according to Kremlin. Kiev is continuing its attempts to attack civilian infrastructure, Peskov said, and they say that Moscow is carrying out strikes on Ukrainian military-linked installations in response to Kiev's attempts to launch drone raids on Russian civilian facilities. Putin reportedly told Trump about the Ukrainian thwarted attempts to disrupt the celebrations of 9th of May. Now, that's a terrorist, isn't it? Terrorist attack. Yesterday, on the day before, the Ukrainians used HIMARS to shoot inside Russia. Well, did they shoot civilian facilities, or they destroyed Some plants they call Azov plants. No, Azot plants. And there's not fertilizers. They make, who's working in those plants? The military or civilians? Is that illegal by the 77 whatever memorandum? All right, my friends, my point is this. You can't just look at and distribute justice on this little hill right here. Only today and only the day you want. You have to look at the root causes. As the Russians say, root causes of this conflict is some interest, economic, financial interest, global, located, harnessing the Western countries, some of them, not Albania or whatever, no, some big Western countries trying to dominate the planet. That's what it is. And they use their military arm, NATO, not even the American military because it's, okay, NATO, which is a little bit bigger than that, to push its economic, financial interest around this globe. And now they hit against Russia. They did it wherever they want. In the Middle East, they cleared it for the boss, and so on. Now it's Russia. Then it's going to be China. But it's not going to be China because if Russia doesn't collapse, these guys will not take on China. Why? For obvious reasons. The limitations. So that's the root cause. NATO coming close to Russian borders. I mean, think about it. If we are adversaries, let's put it mildly, adversaries, okay? And I might, I don't know, do a, how do you call it, sneak punch or something, or a, how that's called, I can't remember the word. Sucker punch you a little bit, you know, pak. If you know that could happen, and I'm coming closer to you, what would you do? Hey, baby, don't stay there. You're too close. But the Russians were not supposed to do this when NATO was like, oh, no, it's too close. It's too close. But hey, if the Russians do the same thing, like, I don't know, Katyusha, or these guys were going to sing back Havala Gila, what are we going to do? The Americans won't like it. So if we are to be just, let's go to the root causes and get back. Get back. Will they go back? No, they will not go back. They will try again. They've been trying the interests located first in Great Britain. They were trying for so many years to destroy Russia. Not in Germany. Yeah, Germany was the second one, but that was something else. I'm not going to go into it because the Brits were so happy the Germans were attacking the Russians, right? The Soviets, I'm sorry. No, they weren't. Why they weren't? Because the Havala Gila was in charge of and Great Britain, but not Germany, so can't have that. That's one of the reasons these guys hate Putin so much. Because he got rid of these guys. The oligarchs should not be in charge of the Russian nation, like those guys are in charge of Ukrainian nation. And they're in plain view. Let alone Berezovsky or others, or Abramovich and other guys who were at one point and Putin, and they all fled to London. Forget about those. They were a little bit behind the scenes, even though Berezovsky was the prime minister at one point, or it was some important official in Russia. They show that they have too much chutzpah at one point. These guys in Ukraine, they just show themselves, god damn it. Like in Mexico, they just show themselves. Miss Baumstein, Barabonstein, Barabom, Applebaum is right there. Mr. Sikorsky with his, my friends, I'm not going to go into spying games. He was I think in the military terms, one woman, not man, one woman placed in the right bed, the right place, is worth more than a battalion. One woman married a senator. One woman married a president. One woman married a foreign minister. That woman, if she works for me, for my intelligence services, that she is worth more than a battalion, or one or two. I think it was two. Nevertheless, a long time ago, when I had my stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.